We're building an action plan for media in 2018, and this week we're talking about media trading. So if you've followed the last 6 episodes, you'll have seen that we're building an action plan for media, looking at 7 different areas, and the idea is to give you kind of practical tips and a worksheet, which you'll find on a link down below, about how you can build an action plan in your company around different areas of media. So what do we mean by media trading?
Well, media trading is all about the price that you pay for your media inventory.
Yeah.
Okay, so many people may think that good behaviors in trading is about finding the cheapest price of media.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you couldn't be further from the truth. It's about finding a balance between your most competitive trading position while still delivering the quality parameters that you need from your media inventory.
Yeah, exactly. And that's been the big shift in trading. You know, we talked about, I think, terms a couple of weeks ago, and we said, like, it's not the sexiest part of the kind of whole media thing. The same could be said of trading as well. A lot of attention's paid more to the innovation and the creativity, but trading, media buying, is the thing that's probably changed the most over the last 10 years and is likely to be the thing that changes now the most in the coming years, that will fundamentally kind of reshape the entire global media industry, and we'll come on to explain why. So we conduct, as you know, kind of periodic research into different areas of media. The most recent survey and the report we're publishing shortly is about media trading, coincidentally. And I think the most interesting question there was we took a quote from the European CMO of L'Oreal, who had said publicly that as far as he was concerned, media buying is not a commodity exercise anymore. That it's a kind of value add. It's all about the quality buy. Yeah. So we asked respondents to what extent they agree with that, and not that surprising, but 88% of respondents said that they agreed with L'Oreal's CMO that media buying now is about quality, not cost.
Absolutely, and further illustration as to how important the buying element is. The WFA found that 35% of their members are either bringing parts of their buying component in-house or are considering doing so over the next 12 months.
Exactly. So this is the change that's going to come on media trading, which is why it's so important. So let's build an action plan for trading. Right, so now, what should we be doing now when it comes to media trading?
Might feel slightly counterintuitive, but the first thing you need to do is understand the terms by which you're engaging with your agency partner. Yeah. And in particular, how you pay them, because how you pay your agencies will have a massive impact on the way that they approach their trading responsibilities. Yeah. So certain payment models perhaps will encourage a certain direction, and also the way that you incentivize your agencies through a performance-related program will have an impact on how aggressively they chase cost. So if a significant proportion of that PRIP mechanic is being triggered by saving delivery, then obviously that's where they're going to be heading. So you need to try and find that balance between strategic thinking and planning and competitive trading position.
Yeah, exactly. And we refer to that often with our marketer clients as the equilibrium, which is you want to get in balance the buying performance of the agency, but also the quality of the thinking and the planning. Because what you don't want an agency to feel like, you know, the only way they succeed is by buying cheaper and cheaper media, because then they won't be able to plan and they won't service you in the way that you want. But also you need, as you say, competitive kind of costs. So getting that balance is exactly right, and those terms of business completely dictate how that plays out.
So what do brands need to do next?
Yeah. So next is auditing.
Yeah.
So the first thing to have a look at, in your contract, you should have a right to audit the agency sufficiently. So that's the first thing, establish a right to audit the agency. Secondly, you need to audit in the right places. So you don't need to audit everything all the time. Some marketers actually just say having the right to audit or the threat of audit is enough actually to raise buying performance of the agency. But we do advocate doing some auditing. Do it on a kind of periodic basis in places which are going to give you the best insight. So it's more than an insurance policy, if you like. It should provide insight. But the challenge with auditing is that historically it's only really looked at, you know, TV, print and outdoor, a bit of radio. The audit itself really needs evolving.
Absolutely, and that's what I think a lot of progressive brands are thinking about now, how to evolve the audit requirements so that they're protected within a kind of a data-rich environment. So, how to use that data, and also how to begin to provide kind of audit guardrails to mitigate against ad fraud. Those are the things that I think brands are going to be challenging their audit community to provide moving forward.
Right, so for the future then, what should we be thinking about when it comes to media trading?
Well, one thing's for certain is that you can't audit your way to growth.
No.
Right? But you do need to have a strategic perspective, a strategic point of view. As more and more media becomes biddable and traded within an auction-based marketplace, the differentiator is not scale, is not volume of billings, it is going to be around data and insight. Okay, and that is what is going to make the big difference.
And that's the stuff that's changing now. So you've got to be aware of that, have a kind of strategic view. What we say to a lot of advertisers is, your ambition should be to be the smartest part of the supply chain. In a future where, as you say, scale isn't the differentiator, doesn't give you competitive advantage, you've got to get control of data, do your analytics, find the insights that help you understand exactly what to buy and what price to pay. We're seeing that a lot more. Last week, I think I've mentioned I was going to the ANA's media conference. So I was in Orlando with about 500 or 600 major US advertisers, not UFOs, US advertisers. What was really interesting is that they're all talking about that, exactly that, getting control of data, being the smartest part of the supply chain. And it was really refreshing to hear. The one thing that keeps coming up though in these conversations is, what's the future role of an agency when an advertiser
That's a very good question.
takes control more and more of buying? So we think, for what it's worth, it will probably lead to the split or separation or clear delineation, let's call it, between agency planning capabilities under agency kind of brands and maybe buying under their kind of larger trading functions. Mark Pritchard last week called for the reuniting of creative and media. It's unlikely that's going to happen, certainly within the holding company level, but we might see agency planning as a discipline, insight and planning, getting closer to the creative. But I think bringing that large industrial scale buying operations back into creative ain't gonna happen.
These are exciting times though. Good week for
advertisers. Last week, as I mentioned, I was at the ANA's media conference in Orlando, which I think is the biggest platform, I think globally, probably for media directors. The consistent theme, though, through all the sessions was really optimistic and assertive, where marketers, mostly media heads that were presenting, but obviously some CMOs, notably Mark Pritchard at P&G, but we had media directors from Johnson & Johnson, AB InBev, Ford, Nationwide, and other brands. Consistent theme was about them taking control, owning decision-making, empowering themselves with data and insight, in-housing capabilities. There was very little specific conversation about some of the more negative things. There were references to them, but they weren't that significant this year. Transparency, ad fraud, brand safety, those kind of areas. All very optimistic, all very assertive, and I think I think a good week for advertisers taking control.
Good. Very good.
Yeah. Bad week.
Well, somewhat related to what you just said.
Perhaps, yeah.
I think it's been a bad week again for the advertising holding groups.
Yeah.
So this week again, we saw the share price of the big holding groups slip again. WPP down 4%, IPG, Omnicom, Publicis both down, all three of them down 2%. This is obviously on the back of WPP's big kind of week 2 weeks ago when their share price fell off a cliff. But I think what was interesting about this particular announcement is that it seemed to be related to the news of Mark Pritchard and his kind of discussions and his big kind of control kind of state of the nation discussion. So perhaps the city and the analysts are beginning to listen to the marketing community and use that as an influence in terms of the share price of the holding groups.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Okay, question of the week. When it comes to media trading, where are you?
Now, next, or future.
Excellent. So that is your media action plan for trading. Thank you very much for watching.
See you next week. But job done. Those are our new creds.
Yeah.
That is just fantastic.
That could go viral.
Right, what do we do here next?